Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, man. You are on up early train.
I'm trying to hold on for dear life.
You're doing probably the best job you've ever done at it.
It might be true. Yeah, the camp, always gets me in a pattern, and then I try to hold on for dear life.
Well, yeah, I know, and it usually goes about 24 to 48 hours.
It does.
And then it falls apart. But when I got your text this morning, I was pleasantly surprised. It's, I think, 7:30?
Yeah, I was Monday after camp, I was up at 6. Tuesday, I was up at 7:30. Yesterday was 8, and today I was back to 7. So I've recorrected. I've been citing my sleep
that's
wake
not
ups.
That's not the kind of negative split we want. I guess you could make the argument that you're preparing. That kind of trajectory prepares you for taper week. Sleep in a little bit more, boom, back up early again.
Yeah,
for race
body
day.
shock.
Yeah, exactly. You're doing more of a race week simulation.
My whole life is a race week simulation.
Yeah, no, dude, no kidding. But hey, today's Thursday, August 16th. Like we said, it's bright and early. It's 8:08 a.m. Central Standard Time. You West Coasters are probably still just rustling and getting out of bed. And welcome to our edition on Thursday of the Crushing Iron Triathlon podcast.
Yeah, it is, I believe, 190. Number 190. We are closing in on our 200th anniversary.
200. Wow.
Can you imagine that, man?
I mean, I can now because we're only 10 away, but if you had asked me that when we first started, I would have been like, yeah, let's concentrate on the first 2.
Yeah, I was sitting in my childhood bedroom talking to you in Kansas City on a whim.
On a whim and a huge prayer.
Huge prayer. Let's try a podcast or two.
Yeah, let's see how it goes.
And now we've pretty much discussed everything that's discussable in triathlon.
Yeah, for the most part. I'm sure there's other things we could touch on, but
no, for sure. But
everybody else touches on those let's be honest, ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And it's like there's only so deep you can go into FTP and threshold numbers and training stress score and all that kind of jazz. It has its place. Okay, it has its place. But it's kind of like the ornament. And we like to talk about the whole Christmas tree, not just the ornament.
Yeah, I mean, how did it grow? How did it find its life?
Or what Target did you buy it from, in our case?
Yeah.
Yeah, good go plastic. I mean, listen, buying it like, green and, from a Christmas tree lot, like that sounds great and that might make you feel all Christmassy, but yeah, let me know the first time you got a toddler running around one of those trees and you got to vacuum things up and it's destroyed. Yeah, no thanks. We'll plastic. But, anyway, it is it's good to be back, and we've had a lot of people who have openly and confessed that they have just now caught up on our podcast. I'm not going to lie, I am borderline terrified to go back and listen to our first 20 to see how it really is. It's thank God that people aren't required to start at number 1 in order to continue to listen onto the podcast, because we would be talking to, I think, 5 people right now. We definitely didn't really know what we were doing. We were just trying to find our way.
Yeah, man, but that's the fun stuff sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like 10 times worse than hearing yourself on an answer machine or a voicemail. I hate listening. I mean, it's funny because the podcast has helped me get over hearing myself in general, because which most people can't stand to hear me talk either. But it's just weird to listen to. But yeah, we're just 2 guys trying to find our way in Kansas and Tennessee, and now almost 2 years later, we're coming up on our 200th episode and doing training camps and meeting so many just ridiculously awesome people. And I do have to say the podcast has been just very much driven by the people within the Facebook group and the community and their topics and their questions and things that they bring up. So we definitely wouldn't be this far, or at least have offered as much content as we had without them. Because if we didn't have them, we would probably have reverted to at least like 13 other dogcasts.
Yeah. Yeah, the dogcast is still out there.
Do you have a topic for today? Because I think I kind of do. I had two topics, but I can tell you've already got one.
No, I don't. I like to get, we're counting down to our 200th episode, but we're also counting down to Chattanooga and Louisville. You're 45 days out. I'm 59 days from the Cannon.
Jeez, could have reminded me.
Yeah, 45 days, bro.
So basically you're asking me if I'm in good shape or not.
Well, a little bit. I was kind of going there.
Yeah, you're massaging your way there. I'm getting there.
Getting there?
Getting there.
Man, so 45 days away and you feel like, you're patiently still trying to get where you want to go. It's not panic time. It's just like, all right, I can see where I'm going.
Yeah, definitely never going to panic.
I know, but I'm just throwing it out there as like an idea that, people don't have to panic.
Well, yeah, and people don't. Yeah, this is true. People never have to panic. You just kind of are where you are. And I think that, sometimes it's often if you keep things as a progression and with an understanding of, each race just being a stepping stone along the way and not a dead end. Or a finite event, that basically sums up your whole triathlon career, then it's much easier to swallow that pill and I think keep going and stay positive. Because even if you have just really, really, really huge goals and you think they might be attainable, sometimes the further you creep into that area, the more common it is for athletes to find themselves in that success or failure area, because it is hard. And to be honest with you, there is a such thing as failure. If you and I think it's okay and healthy to say that. Like if this is your goal and you feel like you did the work and you feel like you had a shot and you didn't get there, then you failed, which is okay. Doesn't make you a failure, but it does mean that you failed. Doesn't mean that you'll always fail at it. Well, no. It'll just means that some things need to change, but it's because we should never define ourselves by our successes or our failures. Because neither of those are something that we repeatedly do. They're kind of like the outliers. It's like, we talk about this all the time and, 10% of people are always going to say you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. 10% of people are going to think you're annoying and you have a huge ego. The 80% of the people are just kind of like, yeah, they're okay most of the time, and sometimes I don't like them. Sometimes I love them. And those are the 80% that you have to listen to and take constructive criticism by, and grow with. The same thing for a triathlon. And racing and success and failures. Like, just because you fail once doesn't mean you're always going to fail. You learn from it, you grow, you move on. Like, and that's it. And so. Do I think I could be in decent, really, really good shape? I mean, I don't think I'm going to be in really, really good shape. I know that I'll be in some of the best shape I've ever been in when I get to Chattanooga. I've had a pretty consistent year, been training well. Things have gone pretty well, and I think I've got a little left in the tank. And so we'll see. But yeah, we should definitely never panic. But I think that it's okay and healthy as well to look at events and things as, I want this so bad. If I don't get it, it is a failure today, but doesn't mean that I'm a failure. It just means that this specific event and day and time didn't happen and I wanted it to, and it was my goal. So I can either quit, and give it up, which means you weren't totally invested anyway, or you can get back to work and trying to find a way to do it again. Because I think that's where you also tend to learn so many things about yourself, when you fall short and you find yourself continuing to want to. I mean, because let's be honest, if you're always wanting to PR, or you're always chasing a better time or a better pace or a better power output, then you're one of those people. You're never satisfied with where you are. You should appreciate it, but you're never satisfied. You should always want to try to get better, and that's one of the biggest parts of sport, I think, that helps, that really pushes people to take risks, healthy risks, to take risks and kind of throw caution to the wind and go for things and push themselves farther and harder than they ever have before in other areas of their life that they may not have done without a sport like this.
I think it's always interesting as a race like an Ironman approaches, and there's been a year, 8 months, 10 months of training focused on it, and then you get down to where you're at, like 45 days out, which is like 3 to 4 weeks maybe of real training, so to speak. And some people are like, you have been real consistent and been on top of it, and others are probably feeling like, man, I haven't done my best training, whatever. So what can I do in the next 3 or 4 weeks to make a difference? And I obviously, for me, you don't go above where you're at, you know what I mean? You don't try to reach out and make tremendous gains and fatigue yourself and get injured or whatever. You just kind of do what you're doing and try and do it a little better, and just now I think 45 days is a long time to build consistency and confidence. To me, that's where it kind of lies.
Well, but I think that for athletes that have been consistent, you can toe that line. Like if you can toe that line between a lot of training hours to get a huge stimulus bump, and then to get your body prepared for such a day. But I wouldn't if that's a person who's been training almost every day consistently for the whole year. If you've been sporadic in your training or missed weeks and weeks and weeks here and there, you need to be very careful with it and monitor it on really just a kind of day-to-day basis. But this is the time where you should be pushing yourself day to day. And at the same time, you have to pay really, really close attention every single day to everybody. And this is, I was telling Allie this yesterday, that right now coaching is 100% totally exhausting. Not in a bad way. It's just, I think I've got Ironman Copenhagen is this weekend, Ironman Mont Tremblant is this weekend, and then to go down like the quick list, we got 7 at Wisconsin, 12 at Chattanooga, 24 at Louisville.
Whoa.
And so you think about, and then I've got people doing Ironman Arizona and Florida and Cozumel, and there's not as many, but you think of, you take how many first timers you have, and then people who are ramping up their load, and you have to just it's just a whole different kind of monitoring. And how are you doing? How are you feeling? What do I see? And is it good? Is it bad? Is it too much? Can we do another day? It's crunch time, and you just have to be really, really, really on your game, and you just have to mentally and emotionally be on point in reading and understanding, and as a coach, knowing when you should pull back and knowing when you should be like, you know what, you got at least one more day in you, or let's see if you got another day. Not to the point of exhaustion and detriment to the athlete, but and that's also why, and I've talked about this before at length, and that's also why when we get to these heavier phases, I do like for athletes to kind of see a little bit farther ahead, not just a week, but a little bit farther ahead about what they're going to encounter, because it kind of gives them a sense of, okay, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I either got a recovery week coming, or I got 2 to 3 easy days coming. I just got to get there. And so like for my Wisconsin peeps, I've got every other day of their training left up to race day, so they can finally see like their taper.
Oh, that's
so they know they just have to make it. Just like for some of them, they got to make it the rest of this week and a whole nother week, and then for another athlete or two, I have them starting to taper next week just because they haven't raced and they've been just like ridiculously consistent. So they need a little bit more time to unload, but. Yeah, I mean, so I think it's just nice to see, but yeah, I mean, you want to be able to push the envelope of your endurance limits, and that's the thing about Ironman training is that you don't, unless you're running long and hard frequently, riding long and swimming, like neither one of those are going to cause or have a high chance of probability to cause an injury, and it's not like at Ironman stuff you're well. Some people probably do hit like the track for a track workout, even though there's no chance in hell they're ever going to be running a 400-meter pace in an Ironman. So your level is dropped a little bit, but you should be pressing the demands you think your body can handle to a new limit, because guess what? You're about to ask that. You're about to ask that same body to do something it's never, for a lot of people, it's never done before. Whether it's do that distance before, and I don't condone at all the whole 26-mile thing, and a lot of times not even the 112-mile thing, but you're still asking a lot of your body either A, do this event 140.6 for the very first time, and or you are preparing your body to do it quicker. So you do need to push yourself, and you do need to be prepared for that.
That's an interesting point, man, because everybody is doing that. They're 99% of the people are going to be asking their body to do something it hasn't done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a, subtle point that was put out there, but how do you prepare for something that you've never done? Yeah, I guess that's a big question, right? It's in life, it's like you just, yeah, I mean, you got to kind of like test it and put it through some kind of ringer in different forms and things like that consistently to be able to recognize on race day that, hey, we're doing that thing again.
Yeah. And it kind of like what I said, I think on the last podcast, like you are what you repeatedly do. And that also goes to settling for the same old time every single time you go out. Mm-hmm. Are you ready and prepared to do something different? Given like you could go do one course and the conditions could be totally different. So and you could be in better shape, but so you have to take those kind of things into context. But in terms of doing like the same old, like if you don't want to run a 3.5 hour marathon anymore and you want to run a 3:15, well, guess what? Shit better change. Or you better get faster. You better keep being consistent so it gradually goes. You can't just decide to do it. Like you just don't wake up and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do this today. When your training hasn't reflected that you have the ability or that there's even remotely an opportunity to do that. But people do it all the time. I'm going to do this today. And they're like, well, let's look at your training. No, that's not going to happen. And I hate to, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just the reality of it. And in this sport and endurance sports in general, whether it's just marathoners or cyclists or swimmers, triathletes are king and queens of talking a whole about, oh, I hope I'm going to do this. Well, hope doesn't mean anything. It's about what you do. And if you look back and you haven't done it, then you're not going to do it. And like I said, I know that's a harsh reality that might sound a little bit, negative. It's not negative. It's just the truth. So while expectations might sound fun, they might sound, listen, because let's be honest, expectations and hopes and dreams are way more fun in our head than they are to put actually physical work into doing. When you wake up in the morning, it's 5 a.m. and you don't want to get up and you choose to take the day off, not because you're really that tired, but because you're that lazy. But then the next thing, like, so it's you. If you want to compete and you want to do better, then do it. Don't just be the person who just talks about it all the time and then quits or complains 24/7. Just lock it up, get out the door, and get to work. And if that's not something that you're willing or that you want to do, then stop signing up for races and stop telling yourself that you want to do this and you want to do that, because you don't really want to. You would just like to.
Yeah. I've been trying
if you want to, then you would do it.
That morning thing is always obviously a challenge for me. This week I've been trying to plan not my workout necessarily, but a activity right away. So it's kind of like you get up and
it's a good idea.
Start, maybe it's like I plan on, moving things out of my living room. Whatever the case is, it's sort of a physical move rather than giving myself a chance to think. Because thinking at that, if you're tired or you're not quite awake, or what if you start overthinking, it's easy to spin the other way. Just sitting around, kind of looking out at the yard or whatever, and you start, so that's a big part of it for me is just kind of moving. And I also, while you're saying that, it occurred to me that, man, triathlon is a really amazing sport if you think about it. The contrast between swimming and cycling and running is just, because you're saying like sometimes it's hard to kind of injure yourself in the water or on the bike. If you're just obviously if you fall or something, but and then versus running and just the difference of the three sports. I sometimes I like to sit back and marvel at how different they are, and and how cool that is. It's really, like swimming is just sort of a different animal for everybody. And then of course cycling, a lot of people like it in general, but once you turn up the power and start going after it, it becomes a totally it's like a big, kind of like a coal engine kind of burn sort of thing. And then running can really be this pounding of your joints and body that it's necessary to build strength. It's just like it's a whole different, I don't know why I'm even talking about this, but it's just kind of cool because they all give you a whole different feeling when you're done something hard. And I just think that's interesting. I told you, and we can get to your topic for the cast here next if you still have it. Or did we get into it?
Oh, no, I got it.
Okay,
well,
good.
We went into a little bit of it. Yeah, I mean, we probably can't cover both, but we can definitely cover one of them for sure.
Save it for next time. Well, I was like, I've committed to, I always do this, but I really I've been making a solid effort on my swim. And I went out there the other day and to the lake and did some big, long swimming, and I figured out some stuff. But the funny part was that I did like a lot of swimming. I mean, I think about 4,000 yards in the open water, which is, and I got done and I figured some stuff out in my stroke and felt really good about it. And I got, I got back to the orange boom and was excited, and I kind of just put my hands on it and jumped over, and I got a tremendous cramp in my calf. And it basically just wrecked the whole day for me.
People and these calf cramps, dear God.
I know. It was just, I'm really kind of explosive when I do that.
Explosive?
Yeah.
Okay. Is anybody out there to confirm this said explosiveness?
Yeah, there was a really good
It's funny because you always do this about you and your swimming. You're like, man, I was killing it. I'm like, well, what pace are you on? I was like, 150, 155.
No, I meant my jump is over the boom was explosive. My swimming isn't explosive. I was just happy to find kind of a comfort zone, sort of a sweet spot in my reach. How's that?
Ah, very well said.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Because you talk about this stuff all the time, but it's like swimming is such a mystery. And obviously, you've solved it, or most of it. And when you talk about that stuff, it's like they have a long stroke. And then I sort of, overdo that. Long doesn't have to be like the longest. What I mean?
That's a huge misconception. We won't dive down to how to not suck at swimming part 5, even though we could. But so many athletes, especially if they've done like a total immersion or a long and slow and smooth, like people tell them to reach like and extend all the way, and that's terrible. It's actually like the worst thing you can possibly tell somebody to do, and that's pretty hard to do in swimming. I mean there's a lot of things. It's not the worst, but it's up there, because you lose the ability to create leverage because you're overextended. But we'll go another day. But yeah, you said you found that, you texted me the day and you said something kind of clicked and you were maybe overextending.
Yeah. It was just because I get tired swimming, and I think it's abnormally tired sometimes, and I think it's because I'm just overdoing what I need to be doing. I'm not getting return for my investment. Mm-hmm. And so it was just kind of finding the idea of not reaching as far as I can with my lats, and then trying to pull, because I'm sure some swimmers are strong enough to do that for a long time, but that's all fitness and things like that. For my strength level, it's about reaching more with hips, and
yep.
Instead of stretching my lats as far as they can go. And like you're saying, you explained it great. It was like you can't, when you reach out that far, you don't have much power pulling back anything if it's just an exercise of trying to pull something off a wall or whatever the case may be. But if you're more in your total compact sort of, you're reaching, but you're not overreaching like you're going to fall down almost.
Yeah, like you want to be like, tension is great, but you want to be able to contract it, not just let it retract back into its original position. Like you want to be able to use that tension for good, and like you said, explosiveness and pop and strength. Not, I'm just using the elasticity, of moving it back and forth, and just that's not how you want to do it. But yeah, that's a topic for another day, or maybe a topic for something that we go over at camp. That, hey, if you're on it, you better hop on it now, because I think we have like 10 spots left in general for all of our camps next year. May and June are sold out. I think we got about 10 spots left for August. So if you want any info, you can go to crushingiron.com to check out camps. But yeah, we talk about swimming and do a ton of swimming stuff too, open water sessions, and then a very hard, aggressive pool session. But yeah, it's one of those things that takes, it's, like you said, swimming is one of those things where it just has to click. And you got to be, willing to keep going at it and going in, always looking to kind of find a way to refine things. And, I haven't solved mine perfectly by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm always trying to continue to solve it. So, I'm going to keep working at it, and kudos to you for continuing to work on your swim stroke when most people just settle for it. Like that was funny, interesting. We had a comment on our closed Facebook group about swim skins, and like, athletes will like no brainer drop $250 or $600 on a wetsuit or a swim skin, but they won't spend any money at all about improving their actual mechanics. They just want to buy shit. It's just like, let's go buy it. I'm gonna make it super fast. Like, no, it's not.
Well, it's funny. I won't mention brands or anything like that, but Glenn, who was here, he's a good swimmer, and he said he had a wetsuit, and he bought a real expensive, sweet wetsuit, and he said his times have been slower.
Yeah, I can vouch for that too. The best swim I had, I remember at Ohio, not my best swim time, but my best overall placement in the swim of any race I've done this year was at Ohio, and I just chose to wear my regular tri-suit with no swim skin. Most of the tri-suits are made so well these days that, if they fit you right, here's the thing, if they fit you right, then you really don't need a swim skin. If they don't fit you that right, then not only are they doing you damage in the water, but they're also doing you more damage on the bike. But let's go ahead and drop $300 on a swim skin you might wear once.
I know, and that's the other thing, right? And then you kind of aren't used to the chafing and all the weirdness of how it feels and everything.
It's like it might save you, like, I'm telling you right now, it's gonna maybe save you a minute.
If all things are equal.
If all things are equal, a swim skin might save you a minute in like a regular lake swim. In a race like Chattanooga, I have no plan at all. If it's not wetsuit legal, I'm not wearing swim skin. I didn't wear it in Ohio. I felt great not wearing it. It's not going to save me any time.
Has it been tested in a swim tunnel?
I've actually seen some pros have posted it, and I think I saw one pro that actually made them slower with the swim skin on. I just don't. It's a minute max. Now, wetsuit, on the other hand, wetsuit is a much bigger deal. But again, wetsuits help you far more. I don't want to say worse, but the slower you are of a swimmer, the more a wetsuit's going to help you. A, because you probably have poor body positioning anyway, so it's going to help you solve that. So it's going to make you go faster. Plus, you're in the water longer, so you have the opportunity to take off more time. Versus a guy or a girl who's towards the front of the pack, who's a really good swimmer, they prefer it never to be wetsuit legal. Because they may save like a minute and a half, max like 2. Whereas somebody else might save 5 to 7 if they're like a 50 to 55 minute 70.3 swimmer. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff is also placebo effect, I think. Makes you feel faster. It's like,
Well, it makes you feel safer, I think, too.
Yeah, some people hate it.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
panic attack. Like I would argue that it makes a lot of people. It's the opposite. Yeah, they have more anxiety and more like chest.
Well, that's true. I think it's an unexpected, thing that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah,
they want it to be wetsuit legal, but then when they get in the water, they're like, holy shit.
Exactly. Oh, I wasn't, sounds like an anvil on my chest. But yeah, I mean, it definitely helps them out longer because they're in the water longer. But yeah, I mean, there's swim skin anyway. It's not, we're going way off topic here, but we can do that.
That's the thing, right? Yeah, you just never know what's going to pop up. So
yeah, but yeah, it's just to answer the question from the gentleman in the Facebook group, swim skin. I wouldn't, especially if you're only going to think you're using for like one race, don't waste your money. It's way overrated. I think I've had like 2 or 3 questions about purchasing swim skins in the last like month from athletes, and I just said don't buy it. It's like, how much time do you think you're really going to save in the water shaving your legs? Or shaving your whole body. Like swimmers, they're not even going to save really good, awesome Olympic swimmers shaving their whole body. They probably save like less than half a second, even if that. But you got triathletes who, like swim like a sinking tugboat, and they're like, oh, but gotta get that swim skin. It's gonna take that drag down. Like, drag? How about not dragging the whole half your lower body like Lieutenant Dan? It's like, give me a break. But we love to do it. We love to spend money versus making lasting changes. So
like
rant over.
Swim analysis.
Could do some analysis, or you could practice harder, and you could commit to swimming more than twice a week.
Man, I can tell you, yeah, like that's the thing.
Slow the whole time when you do it.
When I got to the lake, that's the main reason I try to get to the lake, for a good block of the summer, is to get long swims in, because I figure that stuff out when I don't have to be turning around at the wall every 25 meters.
Yeah.
And just by the time, you know what I mean? It's almost like you hit the wall and you forgot what you're doing on the way back. So it's like you just kind of have to keep going and then tweak and tweak and tweak. And, if you're going for 700 or 800 yards straight with no turns, I mean, you're turning, but you're not, you're not stopping.
Yeah.
That to me is how that's how I start figuring stuff out again.
Mm-hmm.
or get a swim analysis. But anyway, what were you going to say, buddy?
Oh, God, now I think I've like forgotten it.
Oh, geez. You don't forget. You're
That's
a
true.
steel trap.
I wanted to. Well, yeah, we'll do the other one another day. But stop giving volume and power to negativity, whether it's outside training or in training, whether it's outside your head or in your head. This is like the biggest time of year when athletes are so tired and their energy is so low on a lot of times because they're training so much that they either I don't know if they find excuses. Usually they make excuses to not do things, or they find this is the time of year where you either make excuses to not do something, or you find reasons to do it. And I think, and like I said before, the very beginning of the podcast, like this is the time of year where push comes to shove, where the rubber meets the road, however you want to say it. All the stuff you've been talking about all year long, and all these things you've either mentioned to yourself, internally, to your friends externally, you posted on Facebook how you're always crushing it, how it's time to get ready, I'm always doing this, and I'm PRing every training round, I'm doing this. Well, now the closer you get to the race, now you kind of feel the pressure rising.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also when you start to see some people crumble and make excuses, and you see other people find a way. And listen, I think over the course of what is now 190 podcasts, and I'm always a fan of talking through things and not holding anything in. If it's going to be productive, voicing a complaint or voicing let me be honest with you, just voicing like random stupid negative shit, like just keep it to yourself. Like the complaining and the I can't do it, or I've got this, and what, like just we all have them, and if you're injured it's a different story, but the more volume you give to the negative voices in your head that lead to self-doubt, self-criticism, any kind of feedback to yourself that's destructive and not constructive, and anything that really pushes down the amount of self-worth you feel like you have, all leads to you ultimately continuing to hold on to the belief or the doubts that creep in every day of you can't do this or I can't do it. And if you talk about it and say it to yourself every single day, guess what?
You're still believing it.
Exactly. And you become what you believe. And that's just a fact. You become what you believe. You can either believe you're going to accomplish this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do great, and no matter what, you're going to do it, and you can believe it every single day. You know what's more than likely going to happen? You're going to become it. Versus the athlete who, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. How am I going to do it? I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't know if I can do this, and this is coming up, and like, it's so common, especially this time of year for so many athletes. I see it all the time with every athlete in some kind of way, shape, or form. This time of year, who's at my freaking door? Of course, I'm on a nice rant, and the plumbing guy comes by. Hold on one second.
Let's get him on the podcast.
Let's get hey plumber Phil.
How do you keep going every day, my man?
How do you keep
digging out dirty drains, and
how do you keep your positive pipes clean? Hold on one second.
Da 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 ba ba da da da.
Are you there?
Yep.
But you either quiet it or you continue to feed it and throw. You can have two kinds of internal fires, an internal burn or flame, whatever you want to call it. One is positive and keeps you going and keeps you that good, positive, motivated burn inside. The other one is you can just keep throwing gasoline on negativity, self-doubt, and complaining. And while, like I said, I'm all for voicing concerns and voicing injuries, because those are important. Those are something that people that are close to you, that's your coach or your doctor, they need to know. But sometimes I think that we grasp hold of that because sometimes, to be honest, like, people find themselves more in just that kind of mode. They're just more. And listen, I'm not here to say that you shouldn't always have just a small inkling of, I wonder if I really can, because I think somewhat that's actually healthy.
Yeah.
Because it's you're not overconfident, but at the same time, like, the continual I can't, or you know what I mean? Like, it's that negativity, complaining. I would rather find an excuse or find a complaint than I would rather find a way. And this time you just got to find a way, because guess what? Everybody's tired. Everybody's tired. Not everybody. Most people are working hard, the same like you are. It's just some people do it quietly and keep moving, and some people just like to, complain and give more. It's not really complaining either. It's giving that voice and that fuel to continual negativity. That is, you're making the decision for the predominant voice that you're going to hear on race day. What voice is it that you want to have trained and have have the biggest fire? Do you want it to be the positive one? That's not willing to give up. That's not willing to give in. It's telling that voice, I'm listening to you. I'm not having this conversation. I'm definitely not going to talk about you out loud. Or is it going to be the negative one? Because whichever one you continually give credence to, and it's like, honestly, it's like some people love to give their negative thoughts positive reinforcement by continually, like, grasping hold of them and talking about them constantly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, you have so much energy to burn each day. And if you're going to give negative stuff energy, that's taking from your energy pool. And we're all, at this time of year, need as much as we can get. And like you're saying, I mean, like, if you're working out 6-7 days a week and you have 5-6 solid workouts, good workouts, and then in the middle there's one bad one, and that's the one you give all your energy, or that's how you retrain your brain. You're like, oh my, that you give the doubt more power. That's a bad plan. I mean, it's sort of like you just had 6 really good things happen to you and then one sort of bad thing, and then you want to, like, define yourself by the bad one, and that starts giving that more, like you said, it just gives more momentum.
Yeah, or kind of like we talked about again, like, at the same time, when we've all had bad races,
mm-hmm.
right? So, I mean, is that the race you always go back to? Mid-race, well, remember that bad race you had? That's going to happen again. Or do you go back to the days in training where you persevered and you found a way and you kept going? And I say this again, you are what you repeatedly do. The same thing goes with your attitude and how you persevere, and your mindset and your determination and your mental and emotional fortitude on race day. The more you train your mind to, because listen, I think everybody has these thoughts, whether they want to admit it or not. Because I'm all for admitting that you have them. I have them.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't pour gasoline on them, and I just don't become them. Somebody taught me a long time ago that when I was first getting sober, the first thing it says, you are not your thoughts. And I was like, I don't really understand that. And they're like, well, you are not your thoughts. You are not your mind. If you talk to somebody and you say, hey, tell me, point to where you are, who you are as a person. almost, I think, like I said, like 80-something% of people point to their heart, not their mind, even though their heart can't think. But it's that rational, overriding, thing inside of you that basically overrides and convinces and shows you that what your mind is telling you is just not right. And that is so true. It's like our mind will always play tricks on you. It will always tell you that not always, but it'll more oftentimes not. And you have to go back to, okay, where is my heart standing? What's really important? And what do I really believe to know is true? Because what my mind is telling me right now is a 100% total lie.
Yeah, that's back to that awareness and mind thing we were talking about last podcast. It's like, where do you focus that glowing light in your mind more often? And that's sort of what becomes you. It's like your positive thoughts. I hit, going back to that swim I had the other day out at the lake, about halfway through it, I was absolutely zapped and I was falling apart. But I knew that I had, like I started the morning with some coffee, and I didn't really hydrate that morning. So I literally got out of the lake, and I walked up slowly and took a bunch of water in, and I regrouped, and I came back out. And by the time I was ready to keep going at the, I was halfway through 4,000. And by the time I got done, I was like, you know what? I could probably do another, big lap of 800 or something right now. But I felt really good about where I was, and I got out. I didn't want to risk, like, kind of destroying, like, my mental game right there, Like, I talk about that a lot where I'll, could I go farther? But would it be detrimental? That's where I draw the line sometimes. And I love leaving workouts with that positive vibe, Like, feeling, like, energized a little bit, because it's kind of crazy to think about you can, swim 2 miles and actually feel energized at the end. I mean, a lot of people don't grasp that,
Well, it's that fine line, but there also needs to be like that positive, reinforcement of pushing yourself to a whole nother dimension.
Right, which is what happened to me because I'm not normally a long session swimmer,
No kidding.
It's like,
you're just explosive, right?
Yeah, well, just explosive. Only on race day. No, it's just
you're like
unless it's an Olympic, and then I sink.
You're like Usain Bolt versus like the marathoners.
I don't know, man. You know what I do? I try to to me that was a big accomplishment, and I didn't really feel like pouring salt in the wound by trying something even greater. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's sort of like staying within yourself, staying on the plan.
Right.
Versus trying to eclipse the plan because you feel better that day. It's good to feel. It's good to feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to feel thrashed, and that's
you don't. Not every day. Some days you probably should.
But good thrash.
Yeah.
Not that thrash that's gonna, tear down the walls for a week.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be a careful loaded thrash. But yeah, I would say, as we're coming up on athletes with tons and tons of big races, just always be aware of where your energy and your power is going. Is it feeding the positive or is it feeding the negative? And because like you said, there's only so much energy that people have to give. And there's only so much that you can do them on a day-to-day basis. So where are you choosing to give that energy to? And is it going to be productive on race day, or should you just, not keep it quiet, but choose to go the other direction with it and be positive? And it's a state of mind, that's you're going to have it more often than not versus because you're all going to have doubts. I have them. I think everybody does. But do your doubts turn into a pattern, or are your doubts just that, and then you go back into reinforcing them with a habit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think everybody at our camp this weekend did a first in some regard. You know what I mean? And to me, those are like huge. Those are every time you do something, that you haven't done, that should be a positive thing.
Yep.
And you've reached a new level. you've broken through something. I mean, that's really the sport of triathlon, especially, as a beginner and as you're getting into it. It's like a domino effect of like PRs and new distances and all this sort of stuff. And and then at some point that kind of stuff gets harder. Like we were talking about, Mark said, at some point you have to realize, at my age and shit, you've had your PR. You're not going to PR again or something. But but then it's like, how do you juggle small wins or like find positive?
Or what's your definition of winning?
Right. Yeah. Where do you find those success stories in maybe the same quote unquote same old training day? That's yeah, man. It's like I've had these. I've been getting up doing these free-form writing. I like to write a lot, obviously, and a lot of times I'll do it at the computer. But I've been trying to get my hand going again and get the motion going, and just let my thoughts come out. And sometimes you can air your bad thoughts that way, just to kind of like get them out. Sort of therapy through writing and that sort of stuff like that. And then, I don't know. I think it's just because I'm older, man. But like every time I go on social media and stuff, it's like there's always something waiting there to trigger negative thoughts. And
or that's all people do is post about just constant complaining and negativity.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about in our group. The only place I really go is our group anymore, because if I get lured into the main Facebook feed or the Twitter, like if I'm not searching something on Twitter specifically that I know is going to be a fun experience for me, if I go down those rabbit holes of weirdness, it's just like, man, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just that's the way people get attention.
Yeah, I wish I could consider, or I could take like Facebook controls, and when I open it, I only see our group and not like regular Facebook feed.
Well,
but anyway, so stay positive out there, people. Work hard, stay positive, be positive, and be very careful and aware with the fuel you give to certain fires, because that's what's going to get you. That's what's going to keep you warm during your Ironman nights.
Yeah, look for positives. I mean, like in your workout too, you had a bad workout, but maybe the positive is you felt terrible and you got it done. You know what I mean? Like there's always something in there, and I think that, yeah, man, the more you kind of expect bad things to happen and then recognize them and then you crystallize them in your brain, the more they fester, and it's a tough time coming down to 45 days, which you only have 45 days left. Once again. But yeah, there's been a lot of good things that have happened over the course of a year, and then all of a sudden, it's like everybody starts getting these head trips about what could go wrong, man. But let's keep it on what could go right.
Exactly. What is going to go right?
Yeah, what's going to go right?
Like one of my athletes and good friends, Adam Embry, reminded me yesterday of a quote that I'll use a lot. It says, "Don't live in a problem that doesn't exist."
Oh man, that's so easy to do.
Yep, and most people set up shop, camp, and move their entire house into that problem until one day, months, days, weeks, years later, guess what? Nobody comes a knocking because it never existed. And you wasted all your time living there.
It must be a comfortable place.
Yeah, people
familiar place.
People love living there. Living in a problem that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Well, it does come back to sort of a triathlete syndrome. It's of building excuses sometimes. It's like we start ducking into that problem that doesn't exist, and we sort of manifest a potential excuse in there.
Yep. The construction is going well along Excuse Highway.
Yeah. There's a better way to do it. It's just have realistic expectations. I get there. I mean, you start shooting for the moon, and there's nothing wrong with going high, man. Like having a big goal and having a good thing, but the reality is sometimes it's better to have a kind of aim a little low and eclipse it during the race. That's like a really good foundation to go into it from, I think, or be realistic, really know where you're going to go instead of like me trying to, you set a goal and then all of a sudden the next thing is like, maybe I could do even a little bit better than that. And then then you start kind of going down that road, and the next thing you know, you're going to be running a sub-3 marathon. And then it's like, there's, for me, that's just like no win.
Yep, I hear you.
And I walk away stuffing my face with pizza and crying all the way back to the hotel.
Yeah,
because I had a bad day, but I just completed a damn Ironman.
If there's pizza there, Ken Hammond.
I don't know if he made a claim that he's going to have it next year, or he's just inviting us back.
He didn't. He's just inviting us back.
He's inviting us back to Ohio.
Let me be honest with you. I don't care if anybody else gets pizza. If Ken just wants to order like a medium deep dish for me, and I'm cool with that. Everybody else, you're on your own. Yeah, Ken, if I come up again, I want at least 3 or 4 deep dish slices and a Snickers and a Coke. So if you can swing that, appreciate you.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, they always have pizza at Chattanooga, I think. So you should be good.
Yeah,
and always is always. Always is not always.
Exactly. Always is not always. So, all right. If you want more info on our training camps that are almost sold out, you can. We'll probably have a link in the show notes. You can also go to crushingiron.com. There's also going to be more information on swim analysis, coaching, training packages, the blog, videos, gear. And if you have any other direct questions, you can always shoot emails over to Mike, crushingiron@gmail.com, or you can always reach out to me at c26coach@gmail.com.
Yep, 190th podcast in the books.
And we'll see you for 191 on Monday.
We got a special guest coming up at some point.
Yeah, I think hopefully next week we'll have a special guest. So, but we won't drop that yet. We'll surprise you with it on Monday.
Mm-hmm. So okay, any thoughts on me? 59 days till Louisville.
Well, hope you're ready.
One day at a time, brother.
You're ready. I hear you, man.
Moving the right direction.
That's right.
I swam. I gotta say this. I got done at the lake, hit my watch, and it was 2.39 miles.
Did you get back in?
Nope. I walked out.
Good for you.
And now I can forever say that I never swam the distance before the race.
Thank God. Thank God we covered that.
Oh.
It's a good swim, though, man. Solid swim.
Yeah, no, it was good. I'm thinking about going back out there. Is it going to rain here?
I have no idea. I got to deal with this HVAC plumber stuff here in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fun stuff, man. Home ownership, overrated.
Telling you, man.
Yeah, overrated. So, but keep up the swim work, man. Hope you're ready.
Yeah, I hope I'm ready too, buddy.
Hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
Already? I hope not. You still got more work to do.
I definitely have more work to do, but I'm ready. I'm ready to do it.
There you go. That's all that matters. As long as you're ready to do the work.
Mm-hmm. All right. Don't hang up. Thanks for checking in, everybody.
All right. See ya.
Bye.